All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about something that could literally change the way you move, the way you feel, even the way you think about your own body. We're talking about spine articulation.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. When you think about your spine, what comes to mind? Is it just a rigid column? A post that's just there to hold you up? Or is it something way more amazing? An intelligent, flexible chain that's capable of doing some pretty incredible things.
And believe me, how you answer that question, it really, really matters. If you think of your spine as a log, you're going to move like a log. Stiff, brittle, and all that stress, it's going to focus on one single point. And yep, you guessed it, hello lower back pain. But if you think of it like bamboo, oh, that's a whole different story. That's where you find flexibility, real strength, and the ability to spread out any force safely. So today, we're going to learn how to be the bamboo.
So first up, we're going to uncover your spine's secret identity, and I promise it's way more exciting and powerful than you think.
And that secret identity? Well, it all comes down to this one core idea, the articulation principle.
Okay, so what on earth is spine articulation? Put simply, it's the ability for every single bone in your spine, each little vertebra, to move one by one, sequentially. Think of it like beads on a string. It's the total opposite of moving your back as one big, stiff block. We're talking about the super fine-tuned, controlled movement of each and every segment.
There's a quote from the source material that just hits the nail on the head. It's this idea of not bending a thick log, but bending a bunch of thin pieces of bamboo all tied together. See the difference? A log is clumsy, right? It's just asking to snap. But that bundle of bamboo? Every single piece does its part. It creates this beautiful, strong, and super resilient curve. That is spine articulation.
So, why should you care about this? I mean, is this just for people doing fancy Pilates moves? Absolutely not. This is fundamental to the actual health of your spine, and it all boils down to 3 critical pillars.
Let's kick things off with pillar number 1, the nutrition pump. And yeah, I know, that sounds a little dramatic, doesn't it? But it's no exaggeration. The literal survival of your spinal discs hinges on this idea.
Okay, get ready for this, because this is a huge one. Your spinal discs, they have no blood supply. None. So they can't get nutrients delivered the easy way, like say your muscles do. So how do they eat? Well, they rely on a process called diffusion, and articulation is the engine that drives it. Every single time you move your spine, vertebra by vertebra, you're creating this little pump, a squeeze and release cycle that pushes out all the junk and sucks in all the good stuff, the nutrients.
Here's the best way to picture it. Imagine your discs are like little sponges. Now, if you just let a dirty sponge sit there in a bucket of water, nothing really happens, right? It stays gross. But what happens when you squeeze it out and then let it go? Whoosh! It flushes out all the old nasty fluid and soaks up fresh, clean water. That is exactly what articulation is doing for your spine, keeping those discs plump, healthy, and ready for anything.
All right, let's move on to pillar number 2. I like to call this one the inner armor. We're not talking about your six-pack abs here. We're going deeper, talking about the smart, deep muscles you can't even see, but that are absolutely essential for a truly strong and stable core.
See that super precise control you need for articulation? It doesn't come from the big, showy surface muscles. Nope, it's all managed by these tiny, deep muscles, like the multifidus, that literally run from one single vertebra to the very next one. So when you practice articulation, what you're really doing is waking up the direct phone lines between your brain and each specific segment of your spine. It's like you're turning on the lights in a dark house, room by room. That's how you build real core stability, from the inside out. It's the foundation for everything else your body does.
And that brings us to our third and final pillar, the shock absorber. And this, my friends, is where articulation becomes your absolute best friend in preventing injury.
Think about it. When your spine moves like that stiff log we talked about, where does all the impact go? It hammers 1 or 2 spots, over and over again, and usually it's your poor lower back taking the hit. But when you learn to articulate, you become a master of distribution. That load gets shared evenly across every single vertebra. Each little segment does its part, so no single area gets overloaded. We're talking about preventing that wear and tear before it even starts. It's a total game changer for reducing your risk of pain.
Okay, that's a lot of theory, I know. So let's make this real. Let's see what this actually looks like in action.
we're going to break down a classic movement you might know, the Pilates roll down.
So check this out. The roll down isn't just one move. It's a story told in sequence. It doesn't all happen at once. At the start, it's your head and upper back that begin to curl. And that's mostly your rectus abdominis, your six-pack muscle, doing the work. Then, as you move to the middle, the job gets handed off to your obliques and that deep transversus abdominis, which kind of acts like a natural corset. And then, the grand finale, the trickiest part, the lower back. This requires those tiny, smart multifidus muscles to take over for a smooth, controlled finish.
Let's paint a picture here to really lock this in. Think of the start as the domino. Your head nods, and it starts this perfect chain reaction down your spine. The middle part? That's the zipper. Imagine zipping up a jacket where each tooth connects one by one. That's how your ribs should feel, connecting to the floor sequentially, no gaps. And the end? That's the landing. We're not crash landing here. It's like a plane touching down, super soft, super controlled by those deep muscles. No thudding allowed.
Okay, I can almost hear what some of you are thinking right now. That all sounds wonderful, but my back just doesn't do that. It moves in one big, clunky piece. It feels stuck. If that's you, don't worry. You're not alone. Let's talk about it.
That feeling of being stuck? Well, it actually has a name. It's called block movement. It's exactly what it sounds like. The tendency for parts of your spine, usually the mid or lower back, to move as a single, rigid block. Remember that log from the beginning? Yep. This is it, showing up in your own body.
So the big question is, what can you do about it? How in the world do you get a stuck spine to unstick?
All right, listen up, because this is probably the most important takeaway if you feel stiff. Do not force it. Seriously, the solution here isn't to grunt and push harder. It's to back off and get smarter. Maybe you reduce your range of motion, just doing tiny little rollbacks. Maybe you use some props to help you out. But here's the real secret. You have to change your goal. The goal is no longer finish the move. The goal is feel something new. You're just trying to gently reawaken that mind-body connection that's gone dormant.
And all of this, everything we've talked about, it really leads to one big ultimate takeaway. It's about a complete shift in your mindset about your own spine.
First, we have to throw out the old idea. The idea that your spine is just some passive column there to hold you up. And we need to replace it with the truth. Your spine is a dynamic, intelligent, living chain, built for incredibly detailed and powerful movement.
Look, every single time you move, your spine is telling a story about its health, its history, its incredible potential. The only question left is, are you ready to start listening?